I ditched everything before I leave. I need to find that bag with my coins.
Alex Hartley took us off air in Brighton earlier this year.
I'm a huge fan of Pepper.
We thought we were really funny, so why doesn't everyone else think we're really funny? It's been the longest year ever, hasn't it?
She's the most relaxed captain you've ever known.
You got me through my flight from Mackay to Adelaide, so thank you very much.
Well, my dog is now called Jimmy Anderson.
Oh, well, Manchester Originals aren't through to the Eliminators, so I've got to change my team.
Yeah. Sophie Eccleston's the worst, like having a child with you when she's on tour.
I don't know whether it shows something about me or whether it just shows I'm a little bit stupid.
So, Polly, it's time for an emergency podcast on the 100.
It is. So today was the announcement of all the next load of signings. So the teams aren't complete. However, most, we know most of the squad now. So I think it's just the wildcard overseas, and then there are a few places in some teams, but not all teams.
Okay, well, I've been at work all day.
Yeah.
Whilst you've been having your feet up here, watching the news come in. So
Yeah.
Fill me in. What have I missed? What are the headlines? What are the shocks?
Okay, so I'll go through kind of all the teams. That's probably the best way to do it. So they did it 2 teams at a time were announced. So London Spirit was probably one of the biggest ones because they had no overseas spots. So already filled. So they added Megan Shute of Australia, obviously fast bowler, Amelia Kerr, amazing all-rounder from New Zealand, and Beth Mooney, also an Aussie, who's very, very strong batter. Also, Sophie Luff moved from Welsh Fire, where she had the captaincy, to London Spirit. So, London Spirit look quite a strong team, and they've got a few gaps, I think, left. So we'll see. But I'm so glad Amelia Kerr's in the tournament because she's someone that I definitely thought would have not been in the runnings in the first year.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly this year, people would have really looked and thought, actually, it should be really valuable. So I'm very, very glad she's in the team.
Brilliant. And they've got strong English contracted players there as well.
Heather Knight. They've got Charlie Dean, who's obviously not contracted, but very, very valuable member. Mm-hmm. So they are looking very strong. Over to Welsh Fire, where there's been a lot of change, actually. So they kept some of their team. However, overseas, Annabelle Sutherland from Australia, Rachel Haynes, Australia as well, and probably the biggest one, Tammy Beaumont. So Tammy obviously last year played for London Spirit, but wanted the captaincy. Obviously Heather Knight was probably not going to step aside and give the captaincy to Tammy Beaumont, so she's moved to Welsh Fire and taken on captaincy there, which I think is a very good move as well. And they needed a wicket keeper, so they've got Tammy. They also have Sarah Bryce, who's a wicket keeper as well, so I presume they might share out the keeping. I'm not sure, because I know Tammy did that with Amara Carr for London Spirit last year.
Yes.
So Sarah Bryce has moved from Oval Invincibles. Alex Hartley, the big announcement that she's moved from Originals to Welsh Fire, which I've got to say was the most obvious. It was so obvious that it was Welsh Fire, and people were like, no, she's going to go to Northern Superchargers. I was like, no, got any common sense? She's going to Welsh Fire. Also, Fran Wilson moved from Oval Invincibles as well to Welsh Fire, which kind of makes sense because she's moved back to Western Storm, and also Fee Morris, who plays for Western Storm in the regional stuff. So it makes sense if they were going to move that they moved to Welsh Fire. But they are looking like a strong squad, and it looks a lot more balanced than last year.
Okay.
Because I felt that Welsh Fire were really, they really drew the short straw in terms of people who pulled out due to COVID.
Yes.
So their team looks a lot more strong, especially with Tammy Beaumont and Rachel Haynes.
Very good.
Yeah. So the next teams announced were Manchester Originals and Northern Superchargers, I think. So for Manchester, I'm actually really happy with how this squad shaped up. Mm-hmm. So overseas, Amy Satterthwaite.
Yes.
And from New Zealand, and Deandra Dottin, West Indies. I'm so excited to see Deandra Dottin play. Similarly, Amy Satterthwaite. Phoebe Graham has also joined, which was kind of expected because she moved to Thunder. Mm-hmm. Also, Amy Campbell.
Yes.
Previous guest on our podcast. Yeah. She's moved down to Central Sparks, but she's going to be playing for Manchester, which I'm very excited about. And also Grace Potts, who plays at Central Sparks, but has moved up to play for Manchester Originals.
That's interesting. Yeah, I got a question about the bowling lineup for Manchester Originals. So clearly you've got Kate Cross there.
Yeah.
Hannah Jones,
Yeah.
I thought was very effective.
Definitely.
Bowling last year.
Mm-hmm.
Who were going to the other? Oh, Sophie Eccleston, of course.
Yeah, Laura Jackson.
Laura Jackson.
And Phoebe Graham now. But in terms of having a really, like, I'm not putting any shade on them, but having a really strong bowling attack, if you compare it with other teams, they do look quite weak in terms of their bowling.
Emma Lamb bowls a bit, doesn't she?
Yeah. So, but she won't bowl that many overs. Well, it's not overs, but she won't bowl that much, and I don't think she did last time. But see, the batting's looking strong, and in some ways, I don't know. To make a successful team, especially with this format, do you really, really need both? In some ways, you just need a really strong batting lineup. But
I think you need balance. You need balance,
balance,
don't you? And I'm not quite sure looking at that lineup.
Yeah.
I would want another top class bowler in there.
This is what I was thinking. I guess there is still the overseas wildcard, so they could bring in a fast bowler. But in terms of how that person would compare to other players who have been selected, I don't know. Maybe someone like Darcy Brown might work quite well from Australia. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one. Then Northern Superchargers. There wasn't much to announce really with them, apart from Lucy Hyam, who played for Trent Rockets last year. She's signed, and Jenny Gunn, who was actually on the coaching team for Northern Superchargers last year, has decided to play. I saw a stat from, I think it's Hypercourse, that said this is going to be Jenny Gunn's 22nd season playing cricket, like domestic season, which is incredible. So yeah, 2 more additions. But I think they're looking quite strong, I'd say. I mean, with Rodrigues, Wolvart, Healy, strong batting. And yeah, their bowling does look quite good in terms of who would they really have as strong pace bowlers. I get Jenny Gunn's. Oh, I can't remember what Jenny Gunn even bowls. She's not a pace bowler.
No, she's not.
No. Because they've got Katie Levick, spinner. Trying to think. Lindsay Smith, spinner as well. Got quite a few spinners, but yeah, that'll be an interesting one.
Yeah, again, so have they still got slots to fill in their team then?
Do you know, I feel like they don't.
So there are 12 names on the list that I see. There are 15. There are 15 squad members allowed.
They've got 1 space left.
Oh, right, okay.
And then they'll have the overseas. Yeah. Wait, no, they've got 2 spaces left. Sorry, my mistake.
Yeah.
2 spaces left and then overseas. So, yeah, they might bring in pace bowlers. I don't know. We'll see. So, shall we move on to Trent Rockets?
Yeah.
So, with Trent, there was a lot to announce because they only retained like 4 players, I think, 4 or 5. So, overseas, it's looking pretty cool for them. They've got Meg Lanning, Alana King, and Mignon Dupree.
Friend of the pod,
Yes. I'm so glad Alana King is in the 100.
It's fantastic, isn't it? Really good news.
I'm desperate to see her play. In fact, I think I'm going to go to the Manchester Trent game, so I will definitely want to see Alana King because she was incredible in the World Cup and the Ashes. In terms of people that have moved to play for them, so Marie Kelly moved to Lightning anyway, so expected that. Bryony Smith, who played for Welsh Fire last year, I don't think she was happy with the fact that Southern Brave were their local rivals and it took 3 hours. So she wanted to move to Trent, where their local rivals are only about an hour away.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Sophie Munro also plays for Lightning, but played for London Spirit last year, has moved. Alexis Stonehouse has moved, so she plays for Southeast Stars. I think she's about my age.
No way.
I could be wrong. I have a feeling she's my age. And also Georgia Davis, who I believe plays for Central Sparks.
One of the many Georgias that plays women's cricket.
This is the thing. There are a lot of people with the surname Davis or Davies and a lot of people called Georgia. Gets quite confusing. Oval Invincibles. So again, similarly, there's not tons to announce with them, apart from the big one, Lauren Winfield Hill has signed.
Yes.
So I think maybe it was our a lot of our predictions have happened, to be fair. One of our predictions was that Tammy and Lauren would like go to different teams. I was thinking potentially Lauren at Oval. But anyway, yeah, she's on there. Ailish Cranstone is also on there, so she's South East Stars. Emily Windsor moved from Trent Rockets.
Yes.
Eva Gray playing for Oval Invincibles. I'm pretty sure she played last year, but she got injured and was replaced. And Kira Chathley, she plays for South East Stars. She's a wicketkeeper. I haven't actually heard of her before.
Okay.
But again, she's one of those sort of people that you don't really know their name at the start, and by the end, you're gonna know you're gonna know them, and they hopefully be a real star of the tournament. So yeah, we'll see. She might do a bit of keeping. I'd imagine Lauren Runfield Hill would also do keeping. So we'll see. But it looks exciting, and I guess as defending champions, they want a very strong squad. And to have, I think they've got one space left, so. I mean, I've no idea who that'll be filled with. But I have noticed that some people have been left out. So I guess there will be people looking to find a team, really. Is it just Birmingham Southern left, I think?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll go Birmingham first. So Birmingham's final overseas, Sophie Molyneux. So she's actually, I think she's just recovering from injury. I don't think she's still injured. But she played for, I think she plays for Renegades in the WBBL. Right. That's when I kind of like first clocked her. And I never know how to pronounce it. Is it Ster-Cali? Ster-Cali. She plays for Northern Diamonds. She's Dutch. That's what I know about her.
Right.
And she's joined Birmingham Phoenix.
Great.
So I was thinking, when we first saw the announcements of the Phoenix squad for the retentions, their squad looked really strong, especially with Divine and Perry, and I'm very excited to see them play.
Yes, gosh, yes.
I think, they look like a really strong team because they've got everything. They've got spin, they've got, Abdul Maqsood, Kirsty Gordon, but then they've also got, they've got Izzy Wong, they've got Emily Arlott, then they've got the batting with, Eve Jones, Sophie Devine. They're going to be pretty inside because they've got everything covered, really.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, top class options everywhere throughout that team.
Yeah. So they're looking very, very strong. And finally, Southern Brave. So probably the biggest announcement: Tali McGrath going to Southern Brave.
She's the big breakthrough star, really, of the winter, isn't she?
And I guess she's also there with Amanda Jade Wellington. So they're both South Australian players, play for the Strikers in the WBBL. So I think they'll play well together. But also Georgia Adams and Joe Gardner have moved from Oval Invincibles. That kind of makes sense for Georgia Adams because normally plays Southern Vipers with Charlotte Edwards. And also Freya Kemp and Ella McCowan, who I think also play for Southern Vipers, so in good company. And their side's looking strong again. I think, Smriti Mandana, that kind of says it all. But also, I suppose, Danny Wyatt, Lauren Bell, Sophia Dunkley. They've got a lot of people who are on the edge of the England team, and Mai Boucher as well. So again, they'll be a force to reckon with. So it's shaping up very nicely. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, one thing we do need to mention, people that are domestically contracted who haven't got a team yet. So Bethan Ellis, who plays for Lightning, Kelly Castle, Sunrisers, and Nat Wraith, Western Storm. And Nat actually played for Welsh Fire last time. So hopefully they all get teams.
Yeah, although I guess they haven't picked up a team at this point.
No, and you would have thought if they were regionally contracted, they would. Because
there are players who are not regionally contracted.
People who were like my age.
Yeah.
So that was quite surprising. And also Kelly Castle's just been selected as the captain for Sunrisers. So presumably that says something about her standard.
I don't know.
I don't know how these things work, but
maybe she's more of a 50 over player than a sort of T20
potentially,
player.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that must be a bit gutting for those people.
Yeah, I think it must be tough, especially if like in some ways you are better than a lot of other people that have been selected.
Or in your budgeting for the year, you reckon you'd be getting a £12,500
yeah, you've booked
contract.
a holiday and you're like, oh, it's going to be a bit tight then. But I think that's quite interesting to see how the teams are shaping up. And I think the squads look a lot stronger than last year. And last year, the standard was extremely high. So to think that this year it's going to be much higher is very exciting.
And overseas wildcards.
Yeah.
That'll be an interesting thing to see how that shapes up and what countries they'll come from, because it just appears to me it's quite narrow.
Yeah.
So most of the overseas players seem to be Australia, New Zealand, South Africa. There's 2 or 3 West Indies. Yeah,
2 West Indies, I think 4 South Africa, tons of Aussies, and 3 New Zealand players, I think, and 2 Indians.
It would be good to see a bit more representation from the world of cricket. Is my other thought.
Rather than just the Aussies.
And the other thought is, Irish players like Gabby Lewis, Amy Hunter. It'd be brilliant to see them in the 100.
That would be really good. So maybe that will come in the wildcard options. I guess we don't know what happens behind the scenes and negotiating contracts and things like that. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't quite understand when we will find out the final teams, because I know people have up until June, so I don't know whether everything comes out in June.
There could be withdrawals, there could be injuries.
See, this is the thing, and it's like nothing is solidified until that first game of knowing your squad. Hopefully there won't be any major injuries of like big overseas. Imagine like Elise Perry injured, Tali McGrath. It's like, oh no.
They'll be over for the Commonwealth Games. Anyway. So that will be.
There'll be people to replace at a similar standard.
Yeah.
But it's very, very exciting, and it's got me very excited for the summer. And I think we need to book some tickets.
I think we do, definitely.
Yeah, plenty of Manchester tickets. So on Friday we have our finalising the World Cup episode with Mark Robinson. So don't miss that.
That's a good one.
And if you want to get more about the 100 signings, there is so much stuff on our Twitter. I've put an article up which is on my own Twitter, and it's just everywhere, all over social media, so you won't be short of information. In the meantime, you can follow us on our social media. So that's Naughty Child Podcast on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, but our Twitter is OO Child Podcast, and we will see you on Friday.